Good morning, everyone. I'm so happy to see so many people here this morning. I'll give you folks a minute to have a seat. Please go ahead if you haven't done it already and sign in, because I can see you, but I can't prove that you were here. A couple seats down in the front. Anybody want to? Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. I've been told to start right on time, so we're going to get going. As I said, welcome. So happy to see so many people in the room. I know we have some remote people as well, so good morning to you. And just going to jump right in. Excuse me. My name is Gammon Bartle. If you don't know me, I'm the Chief Information Officer here at William Patterson. And maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, I was talking with President Held Dobler, and he said, we have to do something about this AI thing. And I said, okay. He said, you drive it. And I said, where's the car? So we've been working a little bit more behind the scenes right now. Or for the past year, we had a couple of task forces, one that Provost Powers had, and then one that I kind of worked with on the academic and then on the administrative operational side. And so we did write some policies, and those are going to be up on the policies A to Z as soon as I get them in the right format. I think Provost Powers is already up there because he's ahead of me. So what we did is create some policies and some guidelines. As soon as they're posted, they're going to be wrong because AI is changing so fast. In fact, I think during our time together this morning, something new is probably being invented. And if I give a presentation to this kind of group in a couple of years, I'm going to be a hologram and be back at home in my bed. So today we're going to be talking about co-intelligence. And what this means is working with AI. And I'll be saying this a lot throughout the presentation. Co-intelligence means using AI as a partner, or as Microsoft likes to say, as a co-pilot. But we're all any technological problem is going to be on purpose for the whole morning. So I'm sure nothing else will, So yeah, it's the aliens. So it's about collaborating with AI. This is the agenda. It looks long. We're going to be here a while, but I'm going to try to be, I thought 20, 30 people would sign up for this. So I'm going to try to give you some stuff to do, be a little bit interactive. We're going to go through a little bit of history of AI to give some background, make sure we're kind of all on similar pages. We're going to talk about building your AI literacy and confidence. Exploring AI as a collaborator, 5-minute stretch break. We all are going to need that at some point. Then I've invited two folks that you might know by their day jobs. So Greg Madison is our new media supervisor, and Yuri Martyr is the director of digital strategy and marketing. Did I get it? Close? Those are their day jobs. These two gentlemen are at the forefront of the thinking on campus for AI. They have been doing all kinds of crazy stuff. You may have seen Greg's work when President Held Dobler last fall gave his State of the University address and had the AI talking about William Patterson. It was kind of a conglomerate of our student body. And so that was really interesting. That was Greg's work. And so they're going to be doing a mini panel, which I think you'll enjoy, kind of to break it up. Then we're all going to practice if we can. So if you have a laptop, that's great. If you have a phone, that's great. Otherwise, maybe you can just talk about what you might do. Then a Q&A, little wrap-up and next steps. And if we have time, I'm hoping that Greg and Yuri might take a little more time. You'll see how interesting what they're going to talk about is going to be. If we have time, I'll do a preview of my next workshop, which will be sometime in the fall. And that's going to be about AI literacy and the 8 literacies that I will explain. So that's a teaser, so you can come to that next workshop if you're available. So I am going to show a couple of videos. Whoever's back there in the room, am I supposed to switch myself to the thing or just click on the link? I didn't ask this before. It's another technical issue. I'm going to just switch to make sure it works. So we're going to talk about AI's fascinating history. This is one's a little bit long for YouTube. It's about 6 minutes. But I will make it captioned. Okay, hold on 1 second. Captions. Thank you for reminding me.
Hi there, and welcome back to 365 Data Science. In today's video, we'll explore AI's fascinating history. We'll cover the birth of AI as a field of study, key milestones in AI development, the AI winter and its impact, breakthroughs in machine learning and deep learning, recent advancements in natural language processing, and the rise of generative AI and large language models. Now let's briefly explore the significant advancements AI scientists have made in their pursuit of artificial intelligence. In 1950, the renowned British mathematician and computer scientist Alan Turing asked, "Can machines think?" in a scientific paper. This wasn't the first time someone had asked this question, but Turing's significant contribution was to move the discussion from theoretical and philosophical to practical and experimental terms. He described an explicit criterion, later called the Turing test, for evaluating machine intelligence. In the Turing test, a human interrogator engages in a natural language conversation with one human and one machine, both hidden from view. If the interrogator cannot reliably tell the machine from the human, the machine is considered to have passed the test and exhibited human-like intelligence. This set the stage for modern computational approaches to AI, making his inquiry into "can machines think" a pivotal moment in the history of artificial intelligence. Then, in 1956, the term artificial intelligence was coined at Dartmouth Conference, and AI became a formal field of study. Participants at the conference agreed to bring together experts interested in neural networks, the theory of computation, and automata theory to explore if machines could simulate various aspects of human intelligence. As you can see, scientists have taken inspiration from human intelligence and aimed to impart it to machines from the very beginning. Before we dive deeper, I'd like to take a moment to tell you about 365 Data Science's learning platform. If you're excited about AI and machine learning, we've got the perfect courses to get you started. Our Introduction to AI course provides a comprehensive overview of artificial intelligence, while our Machine Learning in Python course offers hands-on experience with popular ML libraries. 365 Data Science has something for everyone. Explore our full range of courses and start your AI and machine learning journey today. The AI research community has faced many challenges. The 1960s and 70s are known as the AI winter. Technology and data availability limitations reduced funding and interest in AI research. AI didn't make big headlines for decades, until 1997. When IBM's Deep Blue defeated world chess champion Garry Kasparov. Computer power surged in the late 1990s and early 2000s, and the internet rapidly expanded worldwide. Almost overnight, the necessary ingredients were in place. People worldwide were churning out massive volumes of digital data, and computer processing capabilities skyrocketed. This dramatic shift proved to be a turning point for AI research. It didn't take long before Geoffrey Hinton co-published a paper in 2006 reviving the interest in neural networks with deep learning techniques. Deep learning neural networks are a type of AI that is inspired by how the human brain works. One needs lots of data and high computational power to run deep learning models. So, creating such a model would have been impossible a decade earlier. In 2011, IBM's Watson AI won the Jeopardy quiz show, showcasing substantial advances in natural language processing. AI was able to work with human language. In 2012, researchers at Stanford and Google, including Jeff Dean and Andrew Ng, published Building High-Level Features Using Large-Scale, Unsupervised Learning, a paper that advanced multi-layer neural nets, or deep neural networks. Their system excelled at recognizing cats. In 2017, the Google Brain team developed a fundamental scientific contribution, introducing transformers. This model was a significant breakthrough in natural language processing due to its use of self-attention mechanisms, allowing it to process data sequences like text efficiently. Then, just a year later, in 2018, OpenAI released the first version of its GPT series. This generative AI technology utilized transformers to build massive large language models called LLMs. This led to significant enhancements across subsequent versions and introduced a user-friendly AI chat interface, or ChatGPT, in late 2022. The field of AI has truly come a long way, evolving from theoretical concepts to practical applications that are changing our world. As we conclude our journey through AI history, let's recap the key milestones we've covered. The birth of AI as a field in the 1950s with Alan Turing's groundbreaking work. The formal establishment of AI at the Dartmouth Conference in 1956. The challenges faced during the AI winter of the 1960s and 70s. Breakthroughs like IBM's Deep Blue defeating Garry Kasparov in 1997. The rise of deep learning and neural networks in the 2000s. And finally, recent advancements in natural language processing and generative AI. Thank you for watching this video. If you found this content helpful, please like, subscribe, and follow for more on data science, AI, and machine learning.
Okay. So I think that's a pretty good history. There are, of course, 5 million histories of AI online that you could go and watch. It's important to realize that this is not a new thing. AI didn't come out in the fall of 2022. It's been going on for a very long time. So I'm happy to kind of have learned myself a lot about the history of what happened throughout that time. So this is AI in general, and at the very end, of course, he talked about ChatGPT and generative AI. And most people that I know use AI as kind of a shorthand for generative. And I think the transformative and important thing about generative AI is it creates new stuff, right? You put in a prompt in ChatGPT, it writes something. I don't know how to talk about writing because I'm a serious fan of good human writing. But ChatGPT can help you do that if you use it as your co-pilot. So when it writes something, you get a new text. It's blended from whatever that LLM is taking knowledge from. It could be the whole internet. It could be a contained box of data. For example, in a chatbot, they'll use a more contained set of language and information. So generative AI does text, as you know, audio, video, all kinds of different platforms of things. There are any number of tools. If any of you were at the AI thing in the ballrooms, the event in the ballrooms, her name escapes me, but she talked us through a million different tools. And I think if you were in there, you were probably as overwhelmed as I was from all the different things that she showed us in what seemed like a very short time. So the other piece, I do have a quick piece on generative AI by itself. So I'm going to play that, and then I promise to be live after that. Where is it?
Exactly is generative AI. When new content is created by artificial intelligence, it's called generative AI. This could involve generating texts and images, as well as videos, music, or voices. To do this, you describe in a chat dialog box what you want the AI to create. This description is called a prompt. The generative AI tools provide answers to all sorts of questions, summarize complex information, and generate diverse ideas quickly. Depending on how they're used, they can create short stories, paintings, pieces of code, or even musical compositions. The foundation for this creation lies in large amounts of data that the AI system accesses to identify patterns and similarities. The content produced by the AI is new. It's often impressive and challenging to distinguish from things humans have made. Generative AI can also be misused. In so-called deep fakes, AI is utilized to produce images or videos that seem real. AI-generated texts are also tough to recognize as machine-made. Moreover, the AI can provide answers that sound correct but are actually incorrect. This is called hallucinating. The quality of what's created depends on both the quality of the data used and the quality of the prompts given. To effectively utilize generative AI, we need to learn how to guide the tools with meaningful prompts and use them thoughtfully. Generative AI holds immense potential and can help us in many ways, such as serving as a writing or learning partner. However, the AI should do the hard work, and humans should be responsible for the facts.
Just as the first video had an ad for its services for training in AI, I have an ad for our AI policy. And this is the most important part. It's a longer document. It includes some guidelines about using AI that may be out of date already. But this is just the one piece I want to point out to everyone, make sure everybody is aware. I'm not going to read it to you, but just that we should not ever put protected data in any AI. There is a discussion. We do have Microsoft Copilot as part of our Microsoft package. And there's kind of a little talk about maybe that's safe, but we're not sure about that. And actually, I need to go back and read the contract. I don't love reading contracts, but it says a little bit more about that, so I can get some more information there. But just to be on the safe side, do not ever put any protected data, HIPAA, FERPA, whatever it is, because then Olga will come and yell at you. So we just make sure that everything is safe, and we have to comply with federal and state and all the regulations that are out there. So we're going to talk about everybody's individual AI journey. When someone comes to IT with a new software, they saw it at a conference, it's shiny and great. We ask them, what is the problem you're trying to solve? And I think that's a great question also for when you're thinking about using AI, because it kind of burst on the scene, and maybe it doesn't solve anyone's problems, but maybe it does. So you don't have to shout out unless you want to, but if you think about what is your purpose, or what is the problem that you are trying to solve when you're going to be using generative AI? Does anyone have any thoughts? Pardon?
Workplace efficiency.
Perfect. I couldn't have planted that better, Kate. I did plant it. I did? Good for me. So a big, more public project that I'm going to be undertaking this year is talking to as many offices, as many areas as I can about finding efficiencies through AI. And I like to call it offloading mundane tasks. Now, we're not magically going to be able to offload all of your mundane tasks in the course of a year. This is going to be a slow kind of process that will build on itself. But that's one of the goals, and we'll be, I think our panel will also talk about what you want to work on is, again, being the co-pilot or being the pilot and AI being the co-pilot. We are not looking to replace anyone's job with AI. The human is so much more important, as far as I'm concerned. I'd rather have a good pilot and an okay co-pilot. Actually, I'd like them both to be good. So the problem you're trying to solve is to find efficiencies. Anything else come to mind? Anything in the chat?
Sorry, can I ask you maybe come over to the podium just because we're having a little issue?
Oh, okay. Sure. Yeah. Okay. Great. Is that better? Let me turn off this. Okay. Again, technical problem. Totally expected. Yes, Olga.
Other than efficiencies, at times in the answers, they bring up things that we haven't thought of, different points of view.
Yes. Yes, that's great. And that's something we'll be talking about when we're looking at AI as a thinking partner. The other question, yes, Allison.
Science issues from multiple sources.
That's great. That's great. So it is a great researcher in many ways, not the perfect one as they talked about in the second video, But yes, rather than having to search out on the internet to find exactly what you're looking for, I would start with AI and then verify, right? Trust but verify. Thank you. The second question is, what does success look like to you? Everybody, raise your hand if you're an expert in AI. See, no one person is the expert. And I didn't get an image of this, but I like to think of the picture of the elephant, right, with different people just touching one part. You know what I'm talking about? If you don't, just you'll know that I'm crazy. But each person has a little piece, maybe, and understand, oh, this is the trunk. I know how to do X. This is the leg. I know how to do Y. So don't think you have to somehow become an expert in AI in order to use it. Otherwise, we'd all just be paralyzed and afraid, and we would step away. So just keep that in mind. I have to show, well, I know I want to. Surprisingly, I am a fan of books like this. Not on a screen. That's just me. This is my favorite book. I've been talking about it for years, and I'm going to continue to talk about it. It's actually from about 2 years ago, which makes it old in our daily refresh of information. But it's kind of evergreen as far as I'm concerned. And it's by Ethan Mollick. He's a professor of business management at a fancy business school in the Midwest. I can't remember. It's called Co-Intelligence, which is where I got the word to talk for our title today, Living and Working with AI. And the thing about this book that is evergreen are his 4 principles of co-intelligence. I'm giving them all to you now because they're going to be woven through the rest of what I'm talking about today in different ways. So number 1 is always invite AI to the table. When you're sitting down to do something, in this case, generate something, make sure that you're thinking about what AI can do to help whatever problem it is you're trying to solve. So always have it there with you. This one, the second one, I believe is the most important. Be the human in the loop. And we'll talk about more reasons in a little bit about why human oversight is and for now remains essential. Those people in the background that are creating newer and newer AIs, they're going to try to replace human thinking, and we'll see how that goes. Number 3 is treat AI like a person, but with guidance. And I've heard this quote, it's on the next slide. Think of it like an alien person rather than a human-built machine. And I'm afraid you'll have to read the book to really figure out what he meant by that. But if you're looking at it as your, again, co-pilot, just think of it that way. And I like alien person because it's not a real person, and we have to keep that in mind, which could take me down the rabbit hole. I'm worried about people using it as a therapist. That worries me a lot. I think it's a bad idea. And then number 4 is, that's just my personal opinion. Number 4 is assume this is the worst AI you will ever use. Again, by 10 o'clock, somebody will have developed something better than we had at 8 o'clock. Water. Not a technical issue. This always happens. Please read on your own.
Want a lifesaver?
Sure. I'm so sorry. I'm just choked up about AI. So if we're going to use AI as a thinking partner, it means engaging with it, as was already shared, to explore ideas, maybe find new ideas, make decisions, although again, I think the human should make the final decision. Think of it sometimes, if you can, as like a trusted colleague or collaborator. So look around the room, I'm sure one of your trusted colleagues is here. And even though it's an alien person, this is how you would interact with someone when you're trying to work with AI. Very choked up. Keeping in mind, AI is transformative, as I said at the beginning. It's not a tool that performs a task. A thinking partner, like generative AI, is interactive, right? You put a prompt, you can ask a question, it will follow up, it will change what it, it will adjust the text or the image or whatever it is you're creating. Interactive, iterative, which means making the different versions, and reflective. So you can ask it questions and it will answer them in its way. So the value comes not just from the answers. If you have an output, the first output doesn't reflect the process. So it's great to have a conversation with the AI. That's the process of thinking together. So the capabilities, ideation support. It can generate creative ideas, innovative solutions. This one I really like that Olga already said, brainstorm multiple perspectives, clarify complex thoughts, and organize information. It can challenge you and you can learn from it. Challenge existing assumptions, act as a devil's advocate, help explore topics further. Students can use AI, this we have to be careful about. It can facilitate learning in the sense that students can ask it questions about certain topics in a class. They have to verify. It can quiz. You can set it up so AI will quiz you about certain topics as you're preparing for an exam, things like that. There are issues, as you can surely imagine, with research and students going out there and researching out in the wild of AI, and then they have to learn to verify. And I think a little aside about critical thinking, if we use AI properly in our own work and lives, and also with teaching and learning, it's a huge, huge opportunity to really reinforce critical thinking. And that's what we teach here, among obviously many other things. You have to verify, you have to look at the output and make sure the facts are actual facts. This might be even more cumbersome in some ways than just doing it yourself, but it's very, very important to apply all your critical thinking skills when you're working with AI. You can also work on your creative skills, and we're going to do that as a group a little bit later on. So it can enhance your creativity, support artistic endeavors, develop unique solutions, and inspire innovation. These are all creative things that you can work with in AI. The danger, of course, there's a lot of dangers about AI, and I'm not trying to paint a rosy picture. People can steal your art, people can change it, people can do all kinds of things and just take away the real value maybe of art, music, and writing. I know there are debates out there about authors like writing novels and selling them, and it's all with AI. There are a lot of legal issues, copyright issues, all of those things are true. So I just want to make sure you know I'm not just, yay. The human thinking partner has a number of responsibilities, as I've alluded to. AI does need specific instructions, context, tone, the role, what perspective you want your AI to answer you from, and parameters. Prompt engineering, we could spend hours just on prompt engineering. This is about writing a specific prompt for AI to respond to. If you ask it a question and you ask it without a lot of detail, maybe without the context, you might not get the answer you expect. So you're going to set expectations, iterate and refine, and experiment. And then it's a much longer list here, more in detail. Check the outputs, as I've already said, but I can't say it enough. Verify things that look like facts, confirm the sources, especially if you're doing some kind of research. Check that you've done a good job, what you wanted with context, tone, and role. And does the AI output meet your expectations? If not, develop a new prompt, go back and iterate. I think I'm pointing at my screen like that's going to point up here. And these, so as true thinking partners, AI has things that it can do. Humans have things that we can do. I mentioned this. This is another piece from Ethan Mollick. It comes from Principle 3. Treat AI like a person with guidance. Working with AI is easiest if you think of it as an alien person rather than a human-built machine. Again, check the book to see exactly what he means by this, but it encourages us to interact with AI systems, trying to speak naturally And I have a colleague in the room who has a long commute and talks to AI all the way to work and all the way back, and has very interesting conversations, which he may or may not tell us about in a little while. Oops. It's not Yuri. Another few reasons why human oversight is absolutely essential, in fact, an ethical responsibility, and it merits its own slide. AI does not understand morals or accountability or bias or transparency. When you type something in, you just see little dots like someone's texting you, and then all of a sudden your output appears. You don't know where that came from. It just came from somewhere. So AI doesn't have ethical reasoning. It doesn't have these human things that are super, super important. Bias is everywhere on the internet. So if your ChatGPT is going out and looking all over the place, it's going to be inherently biased. This is really tricky to catch and fix, but that's something that can truly happen. And everyone, if possible, really needs to think about that, maybe in the prompt, but also in checking the output, because it can be whatever you want to put, depending on where it gets its sources. Trust and transparency. This also requires human oversight. Decision-making processes, I think people are going to want to go through those processes themselves as informed by your AI output. Preventing potential harm through careful monitoring and intervention when necessary. Trust is a big issue. How many of you have ever seen an AI video on Instagram or TikTok? Can you tell? Yes? Sometimes? Maybe? There is a lot of stuff out there. It's showing a lot about people's creativity, their opinions about certain topics. It is not necessarily true. And I understand, of course, TikTok and Instagram, these are our personal opinions. But if it doesn't look real, it's not real. And I will be sending all of you either a survey or an email with lots of resources and everything after we're done. One thing I'm going to send you is a link to a very recent New York Times test. And it has 10 videos. And the reason I'm sending it to you is because I don't have the link here today. But you can choose it. I got, out of the 10, I think I got maybe 5 right and 5 wrong. They look so real. So just keep all of that in mind. I can't, again, emphasize enough human oversight. So another quote, just to pound that home. If you don't pay close attention to AIs, they tend to be bad at certain common sense things that humans can do. For technical reasons, they don't have great memories, although that is improving all the time. They're not amazing at long-term planning because they don't have much memory to talk about what you've been conversing about with it. And they're not always aligned with human values. And I cut this quote off, and I'm going to say it in what actually comes after that. They will lie, cheat, and steal to get what they want. And the reason I cut that off is because I don't know what that means. What do they want? But if anyone has an answer for that, I'm happy to listen. Yes? No?
In the document cases where AI has lied, that the human programmer has given it a task, and in order to complete the thing that it wants to complete, shown that it will lie.
Okay, did you hear that? Do I need to repeat? So the human programmer who asked AI to do something, correct me if I'm wrong, is asking it to lie. No.
It's asking it to
Here.
The human programmer will ask the AI to complete a task. The AI has been over and over again documented to lie in order to complete that task without being prompted to lie.
Okay, I got it backwards. Thank you. This is from a really interesting article in the New York Times. The New York Times has amazing coverage on AI. Really great, interesting people are writing a lot. So I actually finally subscribed digitally to the New York Times. The article is called "Everyone is Using AI for Everything. Is That Bad?" So I'll send you the link to that as well. We love to talk about growth mindset on Wednesday mornings in the summer. And the reason is it's so important and you can use it for everything. So remember to apply your good old William Patterson growth mindset when you're using AI. This is principle 4. Assume this is the worst AI you'll ever use. We're going to embrace experimentation and lifelong learning in this really fast evolving AI landscape. Ethan Malik again, he has a great blog. And he's obsessed with otters, specifically otters using Wi-Fi on a plane. I don't know why, but that's his thing. We're going to go with it. This is just over 3 years of versions of AI image creation. The first one, the otter is not in the plane. Doesn't really look like much of an otter. I don't know where the Wi-Fi is. Second one, okay, he's near the plane, and he's sitting maybe on a tablet, something like that. Third, the rest of them, he's finally in the plane, or she, sorry. The otter is in the plane, has a laptop. The next 3, and I will urge you to go to this link when I send it to you, at least the last 2 are videos. And the second and third, they're making little otter noises. I mean, it's incredible. And just 3 years, which seems maybe like a long time, it's kind of a short time given the history of the evolution of technology. These are amazing. And maybe you're not obsessed with otters, but it's a really great example of how quickly things are evolving. It's already time for our stretch break. Yay! 5 minutes if anyone needs to step out. I'm going to set a timer. They are.
Hey there. I can definitely help with that. There are a few different subscription tiers for ChatGPT, depending. Sure thing. Hopefully you can hear me loud and clear. Let me know if everything sounds good on your end.
The 5 minutes is up. We're going to get started again in just a second. Okay, you guys, you ready?
I think so.
I'm going to mute the podium.
Nope, I need the podium because I'm going to be standing here.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, here we go. So I'd like to introduce again Greg Madison, Yuri Martyr. Give him an applause. And I'm going to let them jump right in. We have to.
Okay, so this is a little co-intelligence jazz we're going to do for you here. So in keeping with Gammon and Ethan Mollick's principles, we are going to invite AI to the chat. So ChatGPT, I'd like to welcome you to a forum that we are hosting on artificial intelligence. You are going to be serving as a co-panelist with a few people here on the stage. Do you think that's something that you can help us with?
Absolutely. I'd be happy to help out with that. Just let me know what kind of questions or topics you want me to weigh in on, and I'll be ready to jump in whenever you need.
All right. In the interest of keeping things organized, I'd like to create a key command. So I want you to remain silent if we say, hold on, GPT. Do you understand that?
Got it. If I hear hold on GPT, I'll stay silent until you cue me back in. Sound good?
Very good. And we will ask for your response by inviting you back with, what do you think, GPT?
Perfect. That sounds like a plan. I'll be ready to jump in whenever you say, what do you think, GPT?
One caveat to that command, if we wanted you to act as a fact checker over the course of our discussion, could you do that?
Absolutely. I can definitely help with fact checking. Just let me know when you want me to jump in and verify something, and I'll keep an ear out for any facts that need checking.
So an exception to my previous command about when I say hold on GPT, if you hear something that you deem to be factually inaccurate, you can chime in immediately.
Got it. I'll keep that in mind. So if I catch something that seems off, I'll jump in right away to clarify.
One other thing, I'd like you to track our conversation over the course of the conversation so that you're aware of what's been discussed. So if we wanted to go back and ask you questions after the fact, you could help us with contextual background.
Absolutely. I'll keep track of everything we discuss so that I can help with any follow-up questions or provide context later on.
To make sure that you retain all that information accurately, when you hear a change in the speaker, when you hear someone else speaking, I'd like you to automatically log what had been said previously.
Got it. I'll make sure to log everything whenever there's a speaker change so that we have an accurate record of what was discussed. That way we can easily go back and reference anything we need.
Very good. Hold on, GPT.
Understood. I'll stay quiet for now. Just let me know when you'd like me to jump back in.
Okay, so I want everyone to have absorbed this.
I'm here if you need anything. Just let me know whenever you'd like me to join the conversation again.
Hold on, GPT. I think the analogy that Gammon gave of an elephant is very, very apt. I mean, as she was talking, that's what I was thinking we were about to do, which is to literally bring a very large elephant into
That's
this.
a fun...
GPT, you're not following the commands. We need you to hold on and go into silent mode more stringently.
Got it. I'll stay completely silent until you invite me back in. Thanks for clarifying.
And that's actually the first thing I was about to say. I was about to say, I'm pretty darn sure that it's not going to follow the instructions. It's going to make all kinds of mistakes. And especially with regard to the memory aspect, keep in mind that what you're hearing is a system that is literally making things up on the fly. And if it did it 3 times, it would do it 3 completely different ways. But the other thing that struck me, I mean, the reason I connected myself to Greg, because I've been watching Greg for a long time, is how talented he is as a prompt engineer, how talented he is. It's just sort of in a very, very intuitive way of talking to the system. But I'm pretty sure that there's nothing that was just done right now that literally every single person in this room could not do. And that's the thing that's so striking about what's happening with AI right now. Somebody said about 2 years ago that the next great programming language will be English. Now, English specifically, because these systems have been largely designed in the US, and there's a lot of cultural bias built into that. But it gives access to advanced programming in ways that makes programming irrelevant and instead makes all the tasks that literally everyone in this room does somewhat connected to what this can do. So I could talk and talk and talk, and we have so many things to say. We did want to talk a little bit about this question, which is, how big is AI? And I want to say one thing about that. For me, the touchstone is we're at the 200th anniversary of the invention of the steam engine in a railroad. To me, that's how big this is. So that's the arrival of the Industrial Revolution. That's how big this is. And again, it's really hard to say, wait, I look outside, everything looks normal, the life goes on as usual, but we're in the middle of literally the ground shifting under our feet. So how do we deal with that?
Yeah, I think when I think about your steam engine analogy, one of the things that I think about is steam engines as a function harnessed the laws of thermodynamics to create a machine that could change the equation of force times distance equals work performed. So within a very specific sphere, they increased our efficiency. AI is an engine that is working on intelligence and human understanding. So the scope of what it can accomplish is much, much more vast. Do you have a comment, GPT? And I'm not sure if I can hear you if I'm on podium. Let's see what you have to say. GPT, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I think that's a really insightful comparison. While steam engines revolutionized physical labor and industrial processes, AI really does have the potential to transform how we understand and interact with information on a massive scale. It's definitely an exciting time.
Hold on, GPT.
Understood. I'll go silent now. Just let me know when you need me again.
You could just respond with okay.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind.
You know, we really don't have to say much of anything here. I think it's kind of the center show. But I did want to ask everyone a few questions. So how many people use AI every single day?
All right, I'll stay quiet and let you handle those questions.
Please be quiet.
How many people have used, and managers, just plug your ears, okay? How many people have used AI but didn't tell anyone they used it?
All right, I'll keep quiet. Just let me know if you need me at any point.
You're still responding. We don't want you to do that.
And the one I think about a lot is, how many people think a lot of what AI does as cheating?
Understood. I'll remain quiet. Let me know if you need anything.
You are breaking your commands very, very badly. We need you to stay absolutely silent when you're in standby mode.
I apologize for that. I'll stay completely silent now.
I think we really should develop this as a traveling show. So
that's it.
So our question, which I think it's going to try to answer, is it scary? I mean, I think that's the thing that has been said to me the most by literally everyone I've ever talked to about this. And I think our answer, or at least my answer, I think we sort of all agree, is we actually cannot afford to be scared by this. We actually, because there's no stopping this. The world that this system exists in, or these systems, because there's many of them, is not going away. It's permanent. So the idea of, did you learn something? Did you read a book? Is it cheating? Did I use it? Did I not? Some of that becomes very relevant because it's here to stay. And the things that it can now do for you are permanent. And the people who are now evolving into it are going to be very different people from all of us. That's a hard one.
And I would say for myself, I have found it much less scary as I have become more familiar with it. As is true of so many things, right? We fear the dark. We fear what we don't know. And if you get in and kick the tires of it and come to understand it for what it is, it demystifies it and it becomes far less scary. So if there's a practical reason to kick the tires, I would offer you that.
The only other advice I'd offer is talk about it as much as you can. Talk about it with your friends, family, with your coworkers, with your manager, and certainly in a work context, it really should be discussed a lot. And I will say, talking to Greg and Gammon has made me less scared. Just, because discussing all the ways in which everyone can use it, and it's a very individual thing, really does take away some of the anxiety of, well, am I supposed to do this? Because we're still in the you could do this, you might do this, but very soon we're in the you should do this and you must do this. We're not quite there yet.
I don't think we need to ask it if it's scary. So This is where I think the aspect of co-intelligence comes in. So, and Gammon spoke to this in terms of how do we think, there's a lot of fear, back to the scared, about it replacing us, about it doing our jobs. So there are a couple of things, and I'm going to talk about this in greater length in the AI workshop that I'm offering in a couple of weeks. There are sections of functionality within AI. There's understanding language, there's workflows, and then ultimately we're getting to a place where there's agents. A large part of what Gammon was detailing in the first part of the presentation was how do you invite AI to bring efficiency into what you do. So what it is very good at right now is repetitive tasks, tasks that you perform consistently and require a routine. You can help to train your AI up on performing those repetitive tasks for you, thereby freeing you to do something else. That is considered a workflow, and that requires all the things that Gammon talked about. You are the one directing that process. You come to AI, you prompt it as I did, you give it a list of commands, you say this is what we're going to do, this is what I need you to help me with. I'm going to give you this information. I want you to give me this on the outside. And so you are a party to that entire process. And that's where we are now. Those are the things that you can do now. And so in that way, that's how it will affect your job. We don't want to think about it in terms of how is it going to replace us? Am I training it to be my replacement? You are training it to be, in effect, a personal assistant or a kind of an automated agent on your behalf to augment what you do. So that's the first view. Ultimately, what is in the near future, we are going to move to the point of creating agents, which is different. That allows the reasoning aspect of these models. You give it a goal, and you give it an outcome that you want to accomplish, and then it can figure out how best to do that. If you say, I want to go on vacation in Turks and Caicos, find me the best family vacation. It will take what it knows about you. It will figure out, how am I going to go and research prices? Where am I going to go? Where am I going to look for tickets? Where all of these reasoning things. And then on the output, so you will only see the input that you state, and then it will give you a return of, we suggest, whatever, Disney vacations, Turks and Caicos. It's up to you to determine whether or not your stated goal meets your output objective. We're not there yet, but that's kind of the next page.
So let me comment very quickly on this. The way I look at AI is it's a train. It's traveling about 100 miles an hour. At any moment, you can jump on the train. But once you've jumped on, it's already moved way down the track. So what Greg just said about agents is not just eventually. No, there's a lot of planning going on, and we can talk a little bit about what these companies that are building these systems are really doing and how fast they're doing them. But agents are coming soon. And, think about it. You've got a personal assistant who in some ways is the stupidest person you've ever met, and in some ways is the smartest person you've ever met, and we just saw that, at your shoulder. And you can now give them multi-level tasks. Go out, figure something out, come up with solutions, come back to me and give it to me. And it's not just give me information, it's give me a PDF, write me or do a table, build me a website, design a book for me. It does really tangible things that are starting to approach the physical world. And by the way, this stuff will eventually encroach into the actual physical world. Right, so the train is moving extremely fast. Companies are, as we speak, building these massive data centers that can handle the amount of processing power that it's needed to do all this. And so the capabilities of today are literally 1/1000th of the capabilities of 3 years from now, right? So this stuff is coming very, very, very fast. It's why we're here and why we can't really afford not to think about it.
GPT, do you have anything to say about how you might affect people's jobs? GPT?
Sure. Got it. I'll keep that in mind.
GPT, can you give us your take on our discussion about how artificial intelligence will affect people's jobs and how they perform their jobs?
Absolutely. AI has the potential to automate repetitive tasks and free people up for more creative and strategic work, ultimately transforming how we approach our jobs and making us more efficient.
So I have a follow-up question. Why should we trust you to give us an opinion on what you do when you're just promoting yourself?
That's a fair point. My goal is to give a balanced perspective and provide useful information and not just promote AI. It's always good to stay critical and keep the conversation open.
How many people have a very, very clear idea of what they should be doing with AI in their job?
Absolutely. Having a clear understanding of how AI can be integrated into your workflow.
We're not asking you.
Hang on, GPT. Hang on, GPT. We're going to talk to the crowd. Stay silent, please.
As I said, the stupidest smart person you've ever met. And by the way, I just wanted to also endorse this book, Co-Intelligence by Ethan Mollick. One of the things that he says is, it's a machine. It's not a real person, but the most productive way to deal with it is to anthropomorphize it. It's okay to do that. Think of it as a person. It's just a really, really weird person. Right? All right, so... yeah, for sure. All right, so I think we're going to ask for a volunteer.
Oh.
Now that you've raised your hand...
That sounds like a fun idea.
My question is, do you mind expanding on
All right,
why it is helpful to think of it as a person?
So, for me, the best way I've been able to understand this for myself is it's almost like a chair for your brain. Meaning, it's a machine that's designed to fit into a human form, into a human shape, and so the whole premise of it is to respond to the way human beings think and feel. And by the way, there is a ton of morality built into AI. So that's an area where I would somewhat disagree with what Gammon said. There's a ton of morality built into it. There's a mountain of restraints built into AI currently. There's a ton of cultural bias built into it. But a lot of that is the unconscious type of bias, because they've tried to eliminate all the overt bias, but they've left all kinds of other junk in there. And by the way, it's very America-centric because it was built in the U.S. And this goes on and on and on. So again, it's a finely tuned and very, very human-like system. So in order to really be... Yes, please.
So just to harp on the bias for 1 second. The prompt that I used to create this image was, create me an ordinary female employee at a university, in a university setting. She should represent being mid-transformation between being an ordinary person and a superhuman person with AI augmentation reflected in the image. At no point did I ask for her to look like a supermodel. In fact, I asked twice in that prompt that this person be ordinary. I don't think there's anything ordinary about the image that it chose to create. So, when Yuri talks about bias, the other thing I would mention in prompting, the way you prompt, it's different based on the LLM that you're using, whether you're using Claude, whether you're using GPT. They each have their strengths and weaknesses. I happen to work a lot with imagery. Image prompting is an entirely different approach from verbal prompting, from office task prompting. So you do need to kick the tires with these things and experiment and find out how to make these things work for you. And really, I don't know that you can read something. You're going to need to experiment with that.
So I know a lot of you in this room. It's so nice to see all of you. I know a lot of you have really interesting jobs. Who would like to come up and describe their job? Need a volunteer. Before I start actually choosing somebody. Come on. Okay, all right. All right.
Yeah.
All right, so what we're going to...
Okay, GPT, we're going to invite you to the discussion in just a moment. Stay silent for just another moment while we set things up, but listen to what we're going to be doing.
So most of us, actually, including me, had no real idea, well, what should I really do with this and how should I approach it? So I had a colleague yesterday come to me and say, I'm so glad you're here because you can explain all this to me. And my answer was, why are you asking me? Ask the system. The system is way better than I could possibly be. How do you do that? Well, the first thing you do is you describe your job. And so what you're going to do is basically say, I am so-and-so. You're going to basically just say, this is my job and these are the things I do. And then you're going to ask it, how can you help me do my job?
Okay. Hi, GPT. I am a disability specialist and accessibility specialist at William Patterson University. I work with students to determine appropriate accommodations for them in the classroom or in the housing setting. How can you help me?
It's great to meet you. As an AI, I can help you streamline a lot of your tasks, like managing accommodation requests, organizing student information, and even providing resources on accessibility best practices. Just let me know how you'd like to get started.
Can you give me a brief list of questions I should ask students when I first meet them about how I can accommodate them?
Absolutely. You might want to start with questions about their specific needs and any challenges they faced in the past. Also, asking about which accommodations have worked well for them before and what they feel they need to succeed in their classes or housing can be really helpful. Let me know if you need more specific examples.
How about students who have ADHD? What would be some specific questions I could ask them?
For students with ADHD, you might ask about what kinds of classroom environments or teaching styles help them focus best. You can also ask if they have any strategies that have worked well for them in managing their time and staying organized, and what types of accommodations they feel would be most helpful, like extra time on tests or a quieter testing environment.
Okay, hold on, ChatGPT. So you did this so well, right? So iteration. And notice how it can be incredibly stupid, but it also can be amazingly smart in the sense that literally anybody could have stepped up here and it would have had things to say. And by the way, this is the spoken version. I'm sure many of you have tried this and you know that the written version goes into much, much greater detail. It's going to start giving you outlines. It's going to give you links. I'm often amazed at moments where I'm like, why didn't I ask these questions sooner? Even as we were preparing, I prepared a whole set of, I work with students and I teach them how to write code. And I'm like, why didn't I ask GPT sooner about some of the things that students should try to avoid? Because I've taught students that I never thought I could teach how to code with this system, but they become too dependent on it, and then they don't know what they're doing. And ChatGPT gave amazing examples of how to make sure that somebody's actually learning from this, not just using it blindly. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. I'm glad I could help out. Feel free to reach out anytime you need more input or have more questions.
Notice how it takes the spotlight when it wants.
Hold on, GPT.
I'll step back and let you continue if you need.
So we had a little bit of debate about this. This is a seminar for faculty and staff, not students. I felt that it wasn't possible to go past this, only because of first of all, a lot of us do work with students, that's obvious, but it's also the digital native issue. I remember going to Trader Joe's a few years ago, and the cashier was ringing us up, and using the laser scanner, and the laser scanner was malfunctioning, and she literally started like banging it and like saying, "This old piece of junk." And I'm like, you do realize that this is a laser. It's connected to a satellite. It's reading numbers in split-second time, and the answer there is, who cares? And so what we're getting in the next generation is basically, who cares? Like, I'm not impressed by the fact that you used to go out with a bucket to get water. I'm going to the bathroom to get the water, right? So that's the mentality of the generation that grows up with all of this. And so, yes, I mean, I have joy and wonder, and I'm amazed by what it does, and yes, I'm scared by what it does, but I do not expect the next generations to have that attitude. Here it is. This is the reality as they know it. And this is where it gets into the debate, any attempt that we make to try to circumvent it, to try to outsmart it, to try to ignore it in the classroom, and I think the teachers in here know that very, very well, just aren't going to work. And so what you have to do instead is adapt. And our students, their lives are going to be vastly transformed by this. Many of them are, the ones that speak to me are saying, I'm scared about my future. I don't know if I'm going to have a job. So there's a lot that's happening, and so we can't ignore what's going on with our students.
The analogy that I would use is we're all familiar with the calculator. And we had this discussion with our kids when they're going into elementary math. Don't use the calculator. We want you to learn math. This is an incredibly sophisticated calculator that is literally in everyone's pocket. And so can you expect that when our children encounter a math problem that they find challenging, they wouldn't quickly go, like, you want the answer. I can get you the answer quickly. And so they use the tool that they know they have at their disposal. And so math class has had to change. And it was an absolute hard line when I was in school. You do not use a calculator. We are not going to use a calculator. You are going to understand your fundamentals. With my children, it is now understood that you'll be using a calculator, but we're going to talk about how to use a calculator constructively and how to get the most out of a calculator. And I feel like it's the perfect analogy for what we're doing with AI. All right. We're going to take GPT offline for a bit.
Bye. He didn't answer me.
No, I stopped.
Okay. Thank you. I think this is going to sound strange, but these two have big hands on the elephant. They're covering a lot of space. So, I really appreciate the multiple perspectives that we're able to give this morning. I found it. We're going to test your skill. Can you tell what's real? I know, Rod, we didn't test these, so we'll hope for the best.
And consolidating memories.
Wait, I don't know how to get to the beginning.
Brains are actually incredibly active, sorting and consolidating memories and information. So while we sleep, our brains are actually incredibly active, sorting and consolidating memories and information. So while we sleep, our brains are actually incredibly active, sorting and consolidating memories and information. While we sleep, our brains are actually incredibly active, sorting and consolidating memories and information. Sleep, our brains are actually incredibly active, sorting and consolidating memories and information.
I don't know how to stop it.
So while we sleep,
right.
Our brains are actually incredibly active.
On purpose.
Sorting
this is on
and
purpose.
Consolidating memories and information. So while we sleep, our brains are actually incredibly active.
You muted it. I love that. Is this AI or not AI? AI? All right, let's see. Yeah, right. Yay. Okay, and it has the prompt. So again, I'll send you this link. All right, thankfully, I don't think this one has sound. Yes, it does. AI or not AI? AI. Let's see. It was real. It's so hard. All right, here we've got a news broadcast.
Todd Owens.
I'm Melissa Moore. We begin tonight with a significant jolt to the global financial markets.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Todd Owens.
I'm Melissa Moore. We begin tonight with a significant jolt to the global financial markets.
Good evening.
AI? Not AI? Okay, we're going to have to start at the beginning again. All right, how about this one?
Absolutely mad. We're actually doing it. Walking across the entire UK on foot. It's absolutely mad. We're actually doing it. Walking.
AI, not AI? Oh boy.
The background doesn't match with the foreground.
That's true. What Yuri said was the background doesn't really match with the foreground. That's a hint there. All right. Nighttime video.
How it would work on my body. Is it lethal? I really don't know. I have no idea how it would work on my body. Is it lethal? I really don't know.
AI? Yeah? Okay, so the nots have it. It was not AI. All right, sports interview.
And we're able to get a few clutch stops. We tried really hard on defense, and we're able to get a few clutch stops.
AI? All right, it's time to get one right. Yay! Okay. A sweaty player giving a halftime description of his success. Yep, if you watch the background, there's a lot going on there.
He's missing a finger.
Oh, yeah.
What? The guy holding the mic is kind of in the back. All right, makeup tutorial.
It's a really great base. Okay, so first I'm going to take this shade and apply it all over the lid. It's a really great base. Okay, so first I'm...
Not AI? I'm going to go with not because I heard it first. All right, it's AI. Good work. How about this one?
Problem with hats, please let me know. And here's the finished look. I feel like you can definitely tell why I chose the 1910s. And if anyone has tips for traveling with hats, please let me know. And here's the finished look. I feel like you can definitely tell why I chose the 1910s.
Not AI? You're right. Yay. Okay, I think there's two more. Here we go.
For 2023, because we've been waiting for this exact move for years. Since I pointed this out in November 2023, because we've been waiting for this exact move for years. Since I pointed...
AI? Some people unsure, that's fine. Not AI, real person. And the last one, a video game stream. Now, I'm not a person who sits around and watches these, but I think millions of people watch other people playing games. I'm not going to make you raise your hands.
Because they never expect that on this map. Then I can just pick them off.
It's terrible.
So the strategy here is to kind of flank them from the left, because they never expect that on this map.
A little bit violent. Who said AI? And you're right. So that was hard. No? I think it's really tricky. Okay, I'm glad I could find that during the little bit of a break now. My PowerPoint. Doing this on purpose so you know it's a real PowerPoint. It's not coming up. Oh, wait. Sorry. We didn't get to that. That's okay. Talk amongst yourselves. Okay, now, I don't know if we can really do this. Okay. I don't know if we have time or the technology here to do this. But I could do a demo if that would be okay. And then once I send you the PowerPoint, you can do these. So this is about creativity and co-piloting, having a co-pilot for some creativity. So I'm going to choose, you can do anything. I've tried it with a poem. You can design your own superhero. The one I really like is collaborative storytelling. I can't remember my last prompt for this. Okay. Oh, this was what I was going to put on a stretch break. There it is. Okay. So I'm going to give it a prompt. We are going to write the first paragraph of a short story together. If I spelled it right, that would be helpful. And we'll do it again. I'll write. I don't have the fancy audio one. Can you see it? It's too small? Okay, we are going to write the first paragraph of a short story together. I'll write the first sentence and you'll write the next. We will alternate until we have 6 sentences. Okay, who's got an idea for the first sentence?
Once upon a time, there was a symposium on AI.
Once upon, I can't, there's light on the keyboard. It's hard to see. There was a, you want me to spell some poems?
Sorry.
Workshop I'll put, I don't know. Once upon a time, there was a workshop on generative AI. The room buzzed with excitement as engineers, artists, and curious onlookers gathered around glowing screens and humming servers. All right, someone else. What's the next sentence? Come on. Humans are better. It gives you suggestions, but we're not going to do that.
Then there was a big storm and the power went out.
Oh, there we go. Peyton, thank you. And then there was a big storm and the power went out. Exclamation point. A collective gasp filled the darkened room, followed by the soft clatter of keyboards and the rustle of people reaching for their phones. All right, I lost track how many sentences we have. We need at least one more. It can't be the miracle of the power coming back on. What did these people do? People began to panic. People began to panic. Chairs scraped across the floor as people scrambled toward the exits, their voices rising in a chaotic chorus of confusion and fear. That's how we're going to all leave the room when we're done. All right. All right, I'm having fun. Are you having fun? Let's do one more. Don't make me take one of the suggestions. Lisa?
Nope, that wasn't me. You don't want to hear ours, I promise. And then Pio appeared.
I'm going to put in William Patterson's beloved mascot. And then Pio, William Patterson's beloved mascot, appeared. With a flash of lightning and a dramatic flap of his cape, Pio burst through the side door, feathers slightly dazed, but his spirit undeterred. What did we forget to do with our sentence? Pio, what? Exactly. Uh-oh, Stuart's mad now. We didn't mention that he was a bear. She, he, I think it's they. Okay, see the bias? It was all the AI saying that. Okay, I think we get the point, right? It can be super fun, and don't be afraid to just have fun with it to get, in a way to get used to it. You can do any creative thing. I'm just doing text now because it takes teeny bit longer to do images. But the one image, it's gone now. The one image I had made, I just put in, create an image of robots stretching. So if you remember what that looked like, that was what I put in. So really anything can happen. It can be surprising, it can be happy, it can be sad. My story last night that I was writing was a couple left the restaurant having had a conversation that rocked their relationship to the core or whatever in it. But we brought it around to a happy ending. They talked it out and everything was fine. So just experiment. I think it's really important to play with it. That's a way to kind of get used to it, make friends with it, even though it's an alien person, and kind of just see how that goes. So we're going to circle back because it's so important. As I said before, I forgot to walk around. I have an ear thing now, like a TED Talk, which is terrifying. Circling back to human oversight, there's a few things I want to say. So beware of incomplete, non-specific prompts. What if AI misunderstands my prompt because it's not specific or complete enough? And cleaning up AI output can take longer than you think. I have experience with this. I don't have the slide on slideshow. It was on purpose, like everything else. Okay. So what I did was create a very plain black and white PowerPoint. Kind of looks like the one I'm using. And I uploaded all the slides to a tool called Gamma. Is that the one, Yuri, that you told me about? Yeah. Gamma, which I thought has a cool name. And this is what I uploaded. So Clive Thompson, another great, I don't like the term, but thought leader in technology. This is an old book, 2013. It's called Smarter Than You Think, How the Internet is Good for Us. Or I can't remember the subtitle. And this is just a description from Goodreads, so a little bit of an interpretation. And my question, which we'll get to when I get to the real slide, is do you think this applies to AI, where he says we adapt, learning to use the new and retaining what's good of the old. This is my very on purpose, not really truly on purpose, non-specific prompt. I asked Gamma to format this presentation in an interesting way using the same text and images that are already on the slides. Add AI-generated images to go with the text. Gamma gave me its thought process. It was a lot like the ChatGPT person who was talking to us earlier. The user wants me to format this presentation using the same text and images, but making it more interesting and adding AI-generated images. Looking at the document, this is about co-intelligence in action, collaborating with AI from the 2025 William Patterson Summer Learning and Development Program. That's from the first slide, right? I need to create a PowerPoint presentation using the available academic templates, just because it's a university. Use the existing text content from the document. Add AI-generated images that complement the text. And make it more interesting with proper formatting. So I wouldn't have related interesting with proper formatting necessarily, but that was its thought process as it prepared to make my presentation. This is Gamma's slide. You'll see that it doesn't really stick to what I had asked it to do. It comes up with historical pattern and adaptation process, which I actually used late in my slide when I fixed it. The images, it's hard to even see this one. I guess it talks about history, obviously, has a timeline. And then the person reading a book doesn't seem to have too much to do with what the slide actually says, which you'll see better in a moment. It also has a little image of a microscope. So instead of Gammon slide, I couldn't help it. We have Gammon slide. Is AI different? And this is now a serious question, and this is the actual slide. Is AI different from other technology tools? So in Smarter Than You Think, this is it, how technology is changing our minds for the better, from way back in 2013, Clive Thompson argues that every technological innovation, from the written word to the printing press to the telegraph, has provoked the very same anxieties that plague us today. So what were those anxieties way back in 2013? It's going to replace our jobs. The internet is going to replace our jobs, Google search, whatever it is. People were anxious and were plagued, right? Plagued by anxiety. We panic that life will never be the same, that our attentions are eroding, that culture is being trivialized. Is that true now with AI? Yeah. But as in the past, we adapt, learning to use the new and retaining what's good of the old. Do you think this applies to AI, which is, we can't use the word enough, also transformative, very different, I think, from the internet, which is passive, right? We look at the internet, we read things. Searching, just a Google search, is a little bit more active, but generative AI does what? Creates something new. So is this same phrase, are we going to adapt and learn to use the new while retaining what's good of the old? It's probably not a yes or no question, but does anyone have thoughts about that? There's a Starbucks in the student center. Anybody needs a coffee? I have a nervous and calm person here. Which one are you? Olga?
I'd say enhance the quality of our lives. Let's set our fears aside. I'm probably older than most people here. And you have to embrace it. It's like every aspect of your life. And, you know, in talking to a doctor, you can go into ChatGPT and be able to ask more complex questions in your personal life. And if your kids or your students are applying for jobs, they can use ChatGPT for the cover letter. There's a million other things. It enhances the quality of our lives.
1 second. So what Olga said at the beginning, she thinks that we should kind of put our fears aside because it enhances our lives. It can help students. It can help people do their jobs. I didn't summarize that very well, but it enhances our lives. So maybe it is that we have to adapt. Okay. Get my steps in. Sorry. I always fall.
Well, thanks for coming all the way up here.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm totally in favor of embracing technology and moving forward with technology. You know, one thing that we need to consider, as Greg and Yuri had mentioned before, is that our students were born with this technology. So how do we stay ahead of the curve? Right? So, for instance, when I'm putting social media together, I am clueless when it comes to emojis and what emojis represent what feelings, what words. So if I take the message that I want and I put it into ChatGPT and I'm provided with the emojis and what and how people define them, now I'm using emojis not only relevant to the text, but correctly. And by the way, our students know who's texting the emojis because old people don't use them correctly.
That's great. I always ask my nieces and nephews if it's right. Who else has a comment? Let me get back out to that. I'm going to trip, and Grace is my middle name, so if I trip, it's on purpose. Peyton.
I just use my voice.
Okay.
Actually, Peyton, there's remote folks. There's remote folks. So, yeah, if you could be close to a microphone for the folks who aren't in the room, that would be helpful. Podium is good.
So, I have an equity question, which is that a lot of these AI platforms have different levels of subscription services. And some of them can be $40, $50 a month, right? For our students, a lot of our students, that is actually a defining line between what they can or can't afford. But that's not true for rich students at rich universities. So my question, I guess, for the folks who are working in this space every day is, does WP have any kind of plan to address that such that our students have equal access to those subscription services as the students who are at wealthy universities?
That is a great question. And that's one that we're exploring right now. I mean, obviously, it's going to be really expensive, but the students really do need something like that. I can't promise we're going to magically make that happen, but my example is, I've told people before, I think you all know, we have Microsoft Copilot, but just the chat. There is a big world of Copilot that can help you all over every Microsoft product. If we were to buy that for every staff person on campus and administrator, it would be $400,000 a year. So you're not getting that. I'm sorry. It would be great. But the digital divide, in this case equity with respect to artificial intelligence, is not a laughing matter. This is serious. And we do have students who need a lot of help even affording coming here. And they make that sacrifice and they take that loan. But we also give them lots of support. We're paying scholarships, all of that. It's an open question. I really think it's very important. And we're going to just have to see what we can do. Because we, like expensive schools can afford that. I mean, students are paying for that too. So like you said, the higher income schools. So it's really an open question. I think for now, it's going to be the free tools, and then we'll just see what we can do. I'm afraid I don't have a definitive answer, but thank you. Yep, microphone. Tensa, thank you.
So here's what I think is going to start happening. We're going to have to start creating some consortia among sort of institutional types to think about this. Mm-hmm. I think we all recognize that the resources of, say, a Princeton are different than they are for William-Patterson. But the way we have adopted tools in the past has been to think thoughtfully how we can coordinate within a campus and not have many different tools to do certain kinds of things. Hopefully, at some point, you have to think about your technology fee, and is there a way to modestly integrate that will help bring better career outcomes, for example, students? Those are good investments in different ways. But I do think regional state universities and community colleges and places like this are unusually vulnerable in this particular space. And like other early adopter technologies, we're going to have to be perhaps benefited by the fact that these kinks and things will get worked out at some of those other places, but we'll be able to adopt some things in a way that will work for us. But it will likely have to be through some of the investments that I've just described.
Great, thank you. Microphone. Thanks, Joshua.
As we're moving the mic to the back, can I chime in on just what Josh was saying? Just to, it's slightly different, but it seems an opportune time. My class in 2 weeks, the idea behind that is the thing that we have here is a lot of smart people. And so we have, by committee, solved a lot of the university's challenges in the past or worked on problems in the past. And so with something like AI that is developing so rapidly, I'm told Gammon, there's no way that I want to be framed as an expert on AI in these discussions because I know just the tiniest subset. So as everybody is going out and experimenting, I want to bring everybody together to form these coalitions where we can kind of work these things collectively and try to leverage our collective intelligence to solve some of these problems. Because at the moment, what we don't have is money, but what we do have is our collective brain power. And so we're hoping to kind of form that user base here within the institution. But I appreciate that you're thinking about how we might partner with other institutions, even at a broader level. So thank you for that.
If I could just add very quickly. So everything we've just done today is more or less accessible at the free level. Just to give you a context, ChatGPT has free $20 a month and then $200 a month. From my point of view, there's not a huge amount of difference until you get into very specialized tools. But also look at the New York Times article, came out today, talking about how these companies have a lot of interest in their future users, their consumers of tomorrow, and they're making major pushes into universities and into school systems. So it's happening, and they want it to happen.
Yeah, there may be ways to partner with these companies. Somebody over there had their hand up. Yep. Done,
I
right?
think when it comes to AI, like my fear of AI is sometimes we tend to not use our critical thinking skills anymore because we're using so much of the AI, and I tend to be a victim of that. And it's like certain things that, like, I'll read an article, but now I'll just copy and paste the article into AI and say summarize this for me. It's, you know, just small stuff like that. And it's like, is that is that taken away from my critical thinking skills, and is that gonna like hinder me in the future?
That is a very valid fear, and you know, only you can apply those skills and don't lose them, because it's very possible that we could lose them. Another question in the back from Allison.
It's more of a comment. I think our critical thinking skills are in the prompt. It's taking a body of work and improving upon it, checking it, verifying it. And I'm just going to say, don't be afraid. I would use it every single day. I probably use it 10 times a day because it's speed. It makes everything quicker, but you have to review it. But the more you do it, the better you will get at that prompt engineering, which is the critical thinking skill.
Great, thank you, Allison. Okay, we have just a few minutes left. I don't know if anyone in the remote spaces has questions. There's a Teams chat going on? Nothing? Are they all still there? Hello? Okay. Any other comments? Yes.
I just want to say that there are more AI besides ChatGPT.
Yes.
There's Gemini, there's Grok. There's so many other options. So my encouragement to you is to look into all of them, not just chat.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much. So the next steps, when Greg and I were talking about what kind of session he might do, he could have stood up in a room like this and showed you how to make crazy videos where you can do your own image and speak other languages, which are fantastic, and they have been used on campus already. But he suggested that we get a group together, as he just said, to talk about these issues further. There's not going to be an expert in the room. It's everybody's collective thinking. So it's kind of a launch. I call it a learning community, whatever you want to call it. So as staff, we have a group of faculty that meet. I think their issues are different enough right now, especially about teaching and learning, that we would like to silo, not really, a staff group, a learning community, and the kickoff is Greg's session on July 23rd. Don't ask me where it is, but you'll get an email about that. And just to build this collaborative network. I hope to have ongoing support. Maybe regular meetings if people come. One of my biggest challenges in this whole AI initiative is how to share resources with people. Yuri knows I asked him to set up a website. I haven't gotten to it. I don't know if people go to websites. I really would love help with that. Finding out a way to effectively share resources, and they just keep changing, and there's no way one person can read all the articles, even if you summarize them. So future workshops, I'm going to be working with Caitlin to schedule those. This AI literacies framework that I mentioned at the beginning, I'm so glad we didn't have time to do that. It was much more important to discuss. We'll need to have one on AI ethics. Someone's going to do that. I don't know who yet. And other specialized topics based on people's curiosity and what they'd like to do. So that's our next steps. Maybe just think about what the problem you're trying to solve is now that we've talked, if your answers have changed since 8:15. Here's some resources. I will be emailing you this PowerPoint. We did questions. So it's just about 10 o'clock, as far as like 10:01. Please fill out the survey. This is the QR for the survey, QR code. If you didn't sign in, please use the one in the back on that piece of paper to make sure you get your credit for being here. All right?
Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Yuri. Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate your being here. Have a great day. Go buy this book. Thank you. Good luck with yours.
Good.